All right, another noon game here in number 22, Notre Dame at Arkansas, noon Eastern time on ABC. Two programs with their backs against the wall right now. So Notre Dame started 1-2 on the season. They really need to win probably their final 9 games of the year to make the college football playoff. Meanwhile, at Arkansas, head coach Sam Pittman is facing a lot of pressure right now because his Razorbacks are 2-2 on the season. They could have been 4-0, but they had 2 fumbles on potential game-winning drives against Ole Miss and Memphis in back-to-back weeks. The latter game, Memphis, this past weekend, that was a game that Arkansas led by 18 points at one point in that game, too. So Arkansas coming off 2 heartbreaking losses, and a head coach is facing a lot of pressure right now. Notre Dame, meanwhile, pretty much cannot lose a game the rest of the year if they want to make the playoff.
Yeah, extremely dangerous game for both teams, obviously, especially if you're Notre Dame and you've got this explosive Arkansas offense you have to face on the road. But it is funny, you mentioned the 4 losses between these two teams combined. They're 4 of the most memorable football games we watched so far this season, right? With Notre Dame with the dramatic losses to Miami and Texas A&M, and Arkansas the last couple weeks. I mean, both teams could easily be undefeated coming into this one, and yet they're 1-2 and 2-2, and the loser basically, and I know we didn't expect necessarily Arkansas to be in the playoff race anyway, but basically the loser of this game is just about done for the playoff, right? And especially in Notre Dame's case with them on the microscope and losing those first 2 games and really needing to rack it up. And honestly, Arkansas losing those games, kind of bad news for Notre Dame if you want to be honest. Otherwise, they'd be playing a 4-0 team on the road and feeling pretty good about, okay, this is the bounce back win we need. Now, that still could be the case, but this is big for Notre Dame. This is a tough game on the road against a really good offense.
Definitely. You actually have the Notre Dame defense in this game, and Dalton, it is not the same Notre Dame defense in the past. And a great point from J. Thomas 8 in the chat. Devontae Smith and Leonard Moore, 2 defensive backs for them, they're questionable for this game too. If they're both out, a Notre Dame secondary that has really struggled, looks nothing like the secondary from last year, could be even worse in this game.
I mean, it could, in theory, be the difference in the game because you look at this Notre Dame coverage, and last year they were one of the 2 or 3 best coverage teams in the country, and this year they're 114th in coverage grades so far. And I know they've had some tough opponents, but man coverage grade, they're playing it a bit less. Last year they were up over 60% man coverage rate. This year about 45, but 98th in man coverage rate, 112th in yards per attempt allowed, 113th in explosive pass rate allowed. We're not used to seeing Notre Dame's secondary struggle like this. And even when Leonard Moore was on the field, giving up too many points, 27 to Miami, 41 to Texas A&M. Even last week, Purdue had 23 at halftime, and then they shut them down and they took over the game in the second half. But, you know, with Al Golden gone, with Chris Ash in there, with the injuries they have in the secondary, with Xavier Watts gone, there's been a ton of factors that Notre Dame's secondary just isn't as good this year. And the problem is you're playing an Arkansas team with an explosive quarterback. Arkansas is actually number 1 in the country in explosive pass rate on offense, over 24% explosive pass rate. This is an issue. And if Leonard Moore is out and they can't stop the deep ball from Talon Green, we've seen this with Talon Green before. It only takes 3 or 4 deep shots from him that need to be completed. Plus, we know this team can run the ball with him, with Mike Washington, with Braylon Russell. So, look, Arkansas is a real threat. Notre Dame, if they don't want to find themselves in a shootout where it comes down to the very last drive again, they need the secondary to play a lot better. But if Leonard Moore is out, you really have some concerns because Talon Green's playing darn good football right now.
Oh, he's one of the most electric quarterbacks that we have in college football right now. My matchup to watch when Notre Dame has the ball is their run game against Arkansas's run defense. So I think Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, heard all of the cries for him to run the football more after their season opening loss to Miami because since week 3, Notre Dame has run the ball on about 58% of their plays, the 9th highest rate in the Power 4. Jeremiah Love is starting to show why. He was the number 1 running back in the country for everybody, including us, heading into the 2025 season. Over the last couple games, he has 260 rushing yards, 170 yards after contact, 12 forced missed tackles. Each of them are in the top 5 of the Power 4. And his backup, Jadarian Price, who's a really good backup running back, he's 25th among Power 4 running backs with over 140 rushing yards over the last couple weeks. Arkansas, meanwhile, is only 70th in run defense grade this year at 79.1, and they really struggled this past weekend in the loss to Memphis. The Memphis Tigers ran for 313 yards in their win, averaging 8.2 yards per carry with 3.9 yards coming before contact. Running back Sutton Smith had 147 yards on only 12 carries. Quarterback Brendan Lewis ran for 122 yards on 14 carries. The one thing that could be working in Arkansas's favor in this game is that CJ Carr is not as much of a threat to run as Brendan Lewis is for the Memphis Tigers, or really Trinidad Chambliss is either for Ole Miss. But still, containing Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price is a tall task for any defense, especially a defense that's really struggled defending the run this year.
Absolutely. Look, that's still the key to Notre Dame's season, is getting this run game going, getting this offensive line back on track, and getting Love and Price the ball as much as possible, getting ahead in games early. But I think CJ Carr, I almost said CJ Stroud, CJ Carr is really a huge factor in this game, because we still know that Arkansas' secondary is not very good, right? So if Notre Dame can find that balance here as the season goes on, and a lot of that is their pass protection that we saw against, struggled against Miami, but everybody's struggling in pass protection against Miami. I'll throw it away for now. I think the balance that Notre Dame could have in this offense is big, and you're right. Love and Price really have to be the engine of it first. Then you get into the play action. Then you get into, okay, those single high looks we're getting from defenses. Then we throw it over their heads.
And I love what I've seen from CJ Carr this year, too. He had a great game against Purdue in their first win of the season, but I think he's best used right now, at least, as a complementary quarterback to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, not as one you want to rely on like they did in the Miami game a lot. All right, Dalton. Ultimately, in this game, that is a lot of pressure for both programs in this one. Who will win between Notre Dame and Arkansas?
I mean, this could absolutely be a high-scoring game, and it's a tough road environment that Notre Dame's going into, even though Arkansas has lost their last two games on the road themselves, at Ole Miss and at Memphis. But I'll take Notre Dame, and I think I trust the balance. I trust C.J. Carr in this type of situation. 30-27, I think we could get a high-scoring game. It's big if Leonard Moore is out. That could actually turn a lot in Arkansas's favor. Arkansas is still very explosive offense, but this game could come down to whether or not Talon Green does make a mistake, maybe trying to force it downfield. And we've seen with Arkansas the last 2 weeks, turnovers have been the Achilles heel, especially at the end of the game. But I think it's going to be a good football game, possibly a very high-scoring game. I'll take Notre Dame. They need it in the worst way.
I think it will be a shootout as well. I think we're going to get a lot of shootouts actually early on in this slate. I have it 37-31 Notre Dame taking down Arkansas. This Notre Dame offense will, I think, dominate. And Arkansas defense has struggled in the secondary and really struggling in run defense, too. It's just struggling to make any stops right now. The Fighting Irish will hand the Razorbacks their third straight loss, despite Talon Green putting up a valiant effort, I think, against the Notre Dame defense. So I have Notre Dame winning that one 37-31.